Welcome to Up and Adams. We got a big show. Ryan Shazier, a friend of the program, who's been talking about the Steelers. Me, we're going to talk about the rivalry with the Ravens. We're going to talk about him beating Kenny Pickett in a 40. Is that what's happening? Or George Pickens?
George Pickens.
George Pickens, okay. And he beat Antonio Brown in a 40, allegedly?
Allegedly.
All right, we'll talk to him about that, and we'll get the season preview. Very excited to welcome Ryan Shazier. Always a good time. We also are going to talk about Cowboys. Baby RJ Ochoa from blogging The Boys on SB Nation will be hanging out with us as well. And the only thing more catastrophic, more bloody and dramatic than what's going on between Scooter Braun and all of his former clients is the rivalry between the Jets and the Giants. We're doing a deep dive, baby, Civil War style. Let's do it. Welcome to the show. We've got some news to make on the program. Guys, I've got a Profit Boost token coming out tomorrow. It is the last one. I think it's the last one we're doing. Or is next Thursday still August? No. When does September happen? It might be our last one. Every Thursday in August, we've done Profit Boost tokens because FanDuel Sportsbook is so awesome. And we sat and we had a little meeting about how do we give back to the fans to make futures bets. So those will be available in your inboxes, your email, and of course on the app. So get to FanDuel Sportsbook. Tomorrow, I think we're doing like passing numbers. Yeah, we did win totals. We're going to do some passing numbers tomorrow. That'll be really exciting. We got to get to a lot today. We have Ryan Shazier, as you heard, on the show. We're going to have RJ Ochoa giving us all the goods on the Cowboys. We love him down there covering all things for Dallas. Are they getting Jonathan Taylor? Should they? We will ask him. But let's, guys, start with the Jets, because since this past Sunday, when they said Aaron Rodgers is starting their final preseason game against the Giants, a lot of fans are wondering, excuse me? What? Huh? Oh, is this the best idea? I'm a little worried. Do you really want to open up Aaron Rodgers to getting injured, especially for the way things have gone with this O-line at certain points? There's scar tissue there. There's PTSD there. Well, we finally heard from Rodgers, and we heard from Robert Saleh yesterday, and let's start with Aaron.
It was not much of a conversation with Robert. I think he was a little more nervous. I might have said no, but I was already leaning towards asking him to play. So it was an easy conversation, and I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but it'd be good to be out there with the guys. And obviously there's been some shuffling around, some of our front back in today at practice. It kind of looked the way things were trending the past week or so. So it'd be nice to be out there with those five.
Cool, Aaron. It makes a lot of sense. Like it's a good answer. New O-line combo playing for the first time. You want to try to build that chemistry, make sure it gels. But it also means more risk. This O-line is reshuffled. They haven't played together in game action. It does make me a little nervous here. But let's hear Saleh and how he responded when he was asked about that risk.
You can't coach scared. You can't play scared. You can slip out of your car and have something happen to you. But we'll be, knock on wood, everyone will be fine. You see some of the great ones out there. Kansas City's playing their guys, Buffalo's playing their guys. It's not uncommon. You could always play the hindsight game or the fearful game, but what's in the best interest for our team is to go out there, play some football together, and prepare ourselves the best way we can for September 11th.
Great point, Coach. Josh Allen's been out there this preseason. So has Super Bowl champion of 2 times, Patrick Mahomes. And we've seen him narrowly avoid some major injury scares over the past years. He's out there leaping out of bounds to throw across his body, and no one is saying anything. So what's the issue here? Why can't 39-year-old Aaron take a couple snaps out there? It makes sense. If Aaron wants to be out there, you play him. You can't play scared, like Saleh's saying. But I'll say this. I cannot blame the Jets fan base for being like, no, sky is falling, their heads are down, they want to bubble wrap this 39-year-old QB, especially given the history of this particular matchup, preseason and otherwise. Jets-Giants has been historically chippy and at times catastrophic for both sides in the preseason. I'm not bringing this up to put any bad juju out there, but I do want to put the mindset of the Jets fan into perspective here for everybody that's having this conversation. Listen, we can go to 1998 where Jason Sehorn suffered a season-ending knee injury for the Giants on a kickoff return. Fast forward to 2003, Chad Pennington breaking his wrist, going to the ground and missing half the season. And Jets went from a playoff team in 2002 to a 6-10 finish that year, okay? I mean, there was 2008, where friend of the show, Osi Umenyiora, suffered a season-ending knee injury for Big Blue. And then, of course, maybe most famously, and everyone's like, don't say it, the image of bloody Eli Manning, okay? After Rex sent the house after him back in 2010. This is such a gross picture. It's The Walking Dead, NFL's version. He ended up being fine, but still, this is not what you want to see from your starting quarterback. These are the images being conjured by the New York fan base, right? The fans haven't even been safe in this rivalry, right? That same game, we saw our guy Fireman Ed get into it with a Giants fan in the stands as well. That one Hamilton remembered. I did not. Now, again, I'm not trying to say Aaron shouldn't play. I'm sure they'll be smart with him. He's going to be fine. I'm just saying this fan base has seen some things over the years in this ridiculous preseason rivalry, and I don't blame them for feeling a little bit nervous and having that sort of imagery conjured up in their heads. Start them against Tampa or Carolina. You know, don't throw them into this savagery. We'll see how it goes. I'll say my piece. But I like what Salah said. I like what Aaron said. And they certainly don't care what we're saying. They're going to play him. Okay, speaking of savagery, let's move on to the Kyle Shanahan portion of the program here. Me and Hamilton text each other every day with what Kyle Shanahan's saying. He's like, are you going to name a backup? And he goes, probably. Before the season, probably. He has no F's to give. Like, he doesn't care. He's all out, and I actually really quite like it. But he's been wild in some press conferences so far this season, and you can tell he's extremely over certain questions he's getting. He's not trying to hide it anymore. And take a look at how it started yesterday.
Kyle, do you plan on announcing a number 2 quarterback, or are you going to wait till right before the game? And is that something that could rotate week to week throughout the season? How do you see that?
Yes, saw that.
Okay, and then came the Nick Bosa line of question. I mean, he did say probably, I'll probably name a starter. He's just over it, right? Kyle was asked if he was surprised that the holdout hadn't been resolved yet with Bosa.
No, it's going pretty much exactly how I expected it to go. That's so now it's kind of just been exactly what I thought.
What are you saying about Bosa there? It went pretty much how I expected it to go. So once it was pulled out of him, he eventually says elsewhere that he's not worried about Bosa eventually showing up and being ready to play. So that is nice news for Niners fans. We should put that out there. But why am I showing all these clips of it being like sort of short and Shanahan-y? Besides the fact that I find it quite amusing and it's like appointment viewing for me at this point. There was exactly one question, guys, in his 11 minutes at the podium that he gave a really lengthy and thoughtful answer to, and it's the one I think a lot of Niners fans have been waiting for. It's the one I've been waiting for. So here's just a snippet of Kyle's minute-long deep dive into the growth and progression of a guy who he never said anything good about in like months, Trey Lance.
Unfortunately, he got hurt and didn't get to go through it. But I think he made a positive out of it because mentally he really saw what he had to improve on, just watching other guys go through it. And it's been pretty well documented, but I think he did improve on that stuff before he came back. And now improving on it before he came back has allowed him to get a lot better through all his reps.
What'd I say? I said he hasn't said one good thing about him. Why is he not talking up, puffing up that stat line he had through 2 preseason games? Why aren't the Niners rolling out beautiful footage of Trey Lance and any good stuff that he's ever done out there? This is now a trade situation. Are they going to trade Trey Lance? This sounds like a total 180 out of a coach who's finally like, yeah, maybe I got to talk him up. He's grown. He looks great. He's a shiny toy. He's great. Well, he can do all these things. He's got the potential. He was grumpy and short about literally, guys, everything else in the interview, but he really made time to give Trey his due. So why now? As I speculated on Monday, I think they're going to try to move him, and I just got a feeling that something is coming. All right, we've got a big show. We've got Ryan Shazier on the program, always super fun, so we'll get to that. And we're going to have lots coming up. Am I missing something, Goldfarb? I don't think so. I think we're ready to go to break and welcome in our next guest. Let's do it. We've got Ryan Shazier on the program. We're going to do a rookie recap. We're going to talk to you what's going on in Seattle with Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I want to get to this Ravens rivalry. You wouldn't wave at the Ravens. What kind of face would you make at the Ravens? Yeah. We got big news, people. Subscribe to Up and Adams on YouTube. It's at the @ Up and Adams Show, because guess what? We are live every day, Monday through Friday. We are streaming on YouTube, not just clips, not just after the show. No, starting on September 5th, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Pacific. Pacific, I sound like Michelle Tanner. It's fine. Get your popcorn ready. I don't know why it says that. Popcorn ready. Who's getting their popcorn ready at 11 a.m. Eastern? 8 a.m. Pacific time. Nobody's eating popcorn. Maybe our next guest does. Who knows? He was an All-American at The Ohio State University, a two-time Pro Bowler for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and hosts the Don't Call It a Comeback podcast. He also is a mind reader, a fortune teller, and I'll tell you why in a little bit, not to mention one of the most inspirational people you will ever meet, Ryan Shazier. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, how you doing? I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. Looks like you're like in a computer. I don't quite know what's going on, but we're happy to have you on the show. I know you've got a lot going on, and I did just mention Ohio State and the Steelers. You played, my friend, in two of the greatest rivalries in all of sports. Which one would you say comes with better bragging rights? Is it Ravens versus Steelers or Ohio State against Michigan?
So when it comes to bragging rights, I would have to go Ohio State versus the team up north. But when it comes to just the intensity of the rivalry, I would say they're very equal. But when it comes to bragging rights, it's definitely the team up north versus the Ohio State University. And the reason I say that is because literally everything that you do evolves around the team up north, which is crazy because we have a clock in the locker room, in the weight room. It tells you to the second when the game starts off. And then, even when you're practicing during practice times, some like the practice squad players have to actually like tape their own helmets, put on Michigan style helmets and Michigan style gear.
Wow, you said Michigan.
I should have not said it.
I know you were doing so well.
Yeah, they'll put on their gear for that game, and I don't know if any other schools in the country are actually putting the other team's stuff on in practice to practice against them.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I'm sure that everyone knew. I did not know that story. That's unbelievable. So there's that in the college world, and that's kicking off this weekend. And we're really close to the season kicking off. And last time you were on the show, and it was a long time ago, we were going into week 14. Your Steelers just won 2 straight. And you made a prediction on how your Steelers would finish the season. Let's take a look at that.
To me, I made a bet with one of my friends, and I was telling him, hey, I bet the Steelers go 9-7 to finish. They win 7. Yeah, they go 9-7, so the Steelers finish, like they win 9 of their, they're going to finish with a positive record. So I was like, we're going to win 7 of our next 9 games.
Excuse me? What did you know?
Hey. It's a combination of believing in the guy that coached you, but then also understanding just how the team is built, how the franchise is built, and believing in Kenny Pickett. And that's one thing that I believe in Kenny. Obviously I know him personally, but I also believe in him because what I've seen with him when he was at the University of Pitt and just his progression from the first start he had all the way until the second half of the season. And I just felt real confident about it.
I mean, they finished 7-2. You nailed it. You won the bet with your buddy. I hope you got something great in that bet. But we got to keep this thing going. You're on a heater here on the Up and Adams show. So if you look at the teams right here that finished in 2022 with the best records in those last 9 weeks, they were all playoff teams. Every single one of them besides, is this not right? That's a lie. Oh, besides your, sorry? Oh, besides your Steelers. So I'm going to put you on the spot to run it back here. What is the Steelers' record going to be this year, and how far are they going?
So you telling me, you asked me for the record. That one is going to be tough. So I think this season I have them maxing out at about 12 wins, but I think they're going to be around 10 to 12 wins.
Why do you think they're getting so slept on a little bit? I mean, people are talking about them more and more. Kenny Pickett looked so good. Obviously, what happened against the Bills, it's just preseason action. But, I mean, I know the Ravens are the super team, and the Bengals deserve the respect because they've been there the past couple of years now. They have Burrow, they have all that. But this Steelers team, like I made the case it's disrespectful to Mike Tomlin that they're at the bottom of the barrel by pretty much every national media head.
I think the reason that they're slept on is because for the last 20 years, they've had a staple in Ben Roethlisberger. So with them having Ben Roethlisberger, everybody knew, hey, Ben would do anything when it comes to winning. And Coach Tomlin would do the same thing. But what people fail to realize is what Kenny Pickett has achieved compared to a lot of other quarterbacks that are now in the National Football League. Kenny Pickett has won and I'm not trying to pull up college stuff, but Kenny Pickett won the ACC when nobody in the world thought Pitt was going to win the ACC. So that kind of showed me that, hey, he understands how to win games. But then also with him, I don't think it's about all the accolades. I think it's about just getting the win. So if you look at the back half of the season, when in the most important games, he only threw one pick. Obviously, everybody look at his stats at the beginning, but every rookie, their first year, their first 7 games, they're going to look ugly. So I thought that they did a good job of building pieces around him. Jalen Warren and Najee Harris are running the ball really well. So with that 1-2 punch, I think that's going to be well. Allen Robinson, he was the number 1 receiver in the league for a while. It just didn't work out in LA, but I think he can work out here. So
what's the problem? Like what, and then you have Tomlin. In the NFL, they have one of the highest floors of any team. Like they're not going to implode. We all kind of knew, like you called your shot, but we got to give Tomlin his respect. Like he's not going to have a team that's losing. He might at some point, but he certainly hasn't. And they ended the season really well. The offensive line's improved. Their run game's okay. Pickett's going to reel it in and hopefully like curb the interceptions a little bit. What is the one thing holding them back, do you think, or the biggest challenge this season for this squad?
I think it's not what's holding them back. I think it's kind of like the Floyd Mayweather kind of thing. It's just like Coach Tomlin has a winning record his whole career, and everybody just kind of wishing upon like, oh, when are they going to lose? Think about it. Yeah. Coach Tomlin went 9-7 with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. So why you don't think he can do the same thing with a first-round quarterback? So that's the first thing that comes to mind. And then the second thing that comes to mind is the Bengals have showed why they're great. Joe Burrow showed why he's great. Lamar Jackson showed why he's great. But Lamar Jackson record versus the Steelers is not a positive one. Coach Zach Taylor, his record versus the Steelers, I think is even. And then the Browns, Kevin Stefanski record versus Coach Tomlin isn't well either. So when everybody else looks inside our division, they see all these big name quarterbacks and they're like, oh, they're going to win that division because of these quarterbacks. But they don't think about like Coach Tomlin got here because of his defense and understanding how to beat those other teams. If we split with everybody in our division and then actually beat the people that's everybody else on our record that they're supposed to beat, they're going to end up 12-5.
I mean, 12. I think 12 is a beautiful number for the Steelers, and I can easily see it happening. It's a very human reason why we want the failure. We're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like it's probably right. You're probably dead on about that. But I hope it changes, and I hope everyone's shutting up by the end of next season. That's what I think. I want to ask you about other NFL sort of news. We have this, Aaron Rodgers is the biggest. I mean, the Ravens are a big rival to the Steelers, but every AFC team's got it out for this Jets squad because they're like all anyone's talking about, and Aaron Rodgers, and they're just going to walk to the Super Bowl and win it and all of this. We have the news that Rodgers is going to suit up for the last preseason game, and the whole Jets fan base is like, no, because the whole season's reliant on him staying healthy. Do you think it's the right move to throw him out there with the questions the Jets have at offensive line against a rival like the Giants?
To me, I think it's very important, and this is obviously if I was a coach, they'll say I'm from the Tomlin tree, and the reason I say that is because you can practice all you want, but you don't know how good your line is. You don't know what your guys are going to do until you have live bullets flying at you. And everything can look perfect in practice. I don't know if they had a joint practice with anybody or not, but everything can look perfect in practice. But then when you actually going against guys that are actually trying to hurt you, you know how your guys are going to perform. You know what Mekhi Becton is going to do. You know what Vera Tucker is going to do. But when you don't go out there and actually have live bullets flying, you just assuming what they're going to do. And I know my mom always told me assuming makes it out of you and me. You know what I'm saying? And that's a situation where I know that the Jets fans can't be assuming, because when the regular season comes and they have to play this first game of the year, it's you're not guessing anymore. You need to know what guys are going to do and where your receivers are going to be when they get jammed and all those type of things. And I think this is the right decision.
Hanging out with Ryan Shazier, getting all the goods about the Steelers, about the AFC, but there's a story that lives in the lore of the Pittsburgh fan base. All that exists is this grainy photo at the finish line. Do you know what I'm talking about, Ryan?
No, what you got? Let me see.
Let's take a look. Is it true? We don't have it? Oh my gosh, we don't have it. There's a photo that exists. I wish I could pull it up on my phone. It's you at the finish line, and you as a rookie beating wide receivers Antonio Brown, Marcus Wheaton, I think, was in there in the 40-yard dash. Is this true?
Yeah, it was Antonio Brown, Marcus Wheaton, Sammy Coates, and then Eli. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, and Eli Rodgers. Yeah, okay. So what happened that day was, unfortunately, somebody actually got hurt in that race. One of our starting receivers got hurt in that race. It wasn't Antonio, but one of our receivers got hurt in that race. But what happened was
Sammy Coates?
No, it wasn't Sam. It ended up being Marcus. Oh. But so what happened was, I remember we had an argument because I ended up running a 4.3 in the draft, but I ended up pulling my hamstring at the finish line. So I probably could have ran faster, but people always say stuff. So I was telling them, I was like, man, I asked Coach Tomlin and everybody else, we just be talking around. It was OTAs. I was like, who is the, top 10 fastest guys on the team? Oh no, who is the fastest guys on the team? And the fastest guy on the team was not Marcus Wheaton, Darius Heyward-Bey by far. Okay. But then after him, we was like, who's the fastest guy? And then Coach Tomlin was like, yeah, you're probably not even top 10. I was like, top 10? I'm probably like top 5.
You're like, I won a 4.36 40 at Ohio State's Pro Day.
Yeah, I was like, I'm probably top 5, right? And then they was like, nah. And then so I was like, name the guys that are faster than me. And then he started pointing out some guys, and I was like, yeah, those guys aren't faster than me. I was like, I'm willing to race them, whatever they want to race. And then the receivers was like, oh, it's a linebacker. Oh, guys are super competitive in the NFL. It's like, it's a linebacker. We're definitely we're going to smoke you. And I was like, all right, bet. Whatever money you want to bet, we can race today, later. So then after practice, I was like, we can line up after practice. So after practice, I was untying my shoes, taking my tape off, because I was serious, but I was like, I don't think none of them was serious. And then they was like, hey, I thought you were trying to race. So then they called me out too. So I was like, all right, bet. So I went out there. We ended up racing about 60 yards. And because I told them I don't want to do 40. I was like, at least give me like 60. Because I know if I get 60, some of them guys, like their get off is faster than mine. But if I go 60, I'm going to come catch you. And then so we ended up running 60 yards, and I ended up winning the race.
You won the race. That's so insane. Was Tomlin out there like encouraging this behavior?
No, so basically, I think he watched it, but it wasn't like he tried to make it seem like he wasn't there. Type of thing.
Sure.
It was an OTAs. It was an OTA,
God
so it
forbid.
wasn't. Yeah. So
and then Wheaton ends up getting hurt. Coach is probably like, I can't. I bet Coach was like, I can't even imagine.
I think it was more like he was just working out, and he seen us already in the midst about the race. So it was like nobody was coming out there like, hey, y'all stop, and. We ended up racing, but it was kind of cool. So then after that moment, everybody was like, "Oh, Ryan is a lot faster than we thought he was."
Well, Ryan, it's unofficial. It's unofficial, but now you have all the credibility in the world. But you ran an unofficial 4.36, like I said, at Ohio State. And in 2022, George Pickens, who's just every highlight reel, he's all over Twitter, all over social media with everything he's doing at camp, he ran an official 4.47. So in your rookie year, are you beating George Pickens in the 40?
So this is what I'll say. When it comes to jumping, catching, making all those incredible things, I leave that all to the receivers. When it comes to racing and running people down, that was a trait that I had, and I was very proud of that trait. Like I knew if somebody had a legit chance, if I was within 5 yards of you and you weren't a 4.2 guy, I was going to catch you. And so if it came up to us lining up next to each other, I don't think it was any races that I had in my life where I lined up next to somebody and I lost.
Ryan, it's like the scariest thing to think about, you being out there and catching up to somebody like a shark in the water attacking someone. Like, I'm picturing Terminator when, like, the cop that's, like, the alien thing is, like, slowly catching up to the thing and, like, takes it down. Like, you are a menace out there.
Yeah, no, if to me, I just had a thrill in, like, playing football. Like, I love football. I love defense. I love everything about linebacker. The reason I chose defense is because I prefer to go forward instead of going backwards. Because when you get tackled, if you get tackled hard enough, you fall on your back. I don't like falling on my back. So I was like, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure I can be the best backer. And then once I got older, once I got around high school, I started just becoming faster. And that just became a blessing because my knowledge of the game and then my speed, it allowed me to kind of be wherever I need to be on the field.
It's a blessing. It sounds like you were grateful for it when you had it back when you were a rookie. Of course, you've been through so much, and you are a perfect example of the world is bigger than football, and there's more important things to stand for, to be a part of, even though you talk about all the time and we love your podcast. But I did want to talk about the new medical cannabis wellness line that you have. It's called Steel City Greats. And I want to know about the product. I've talked to a bunch of players about this, and it helped you personally to take on the pain, the rehab associated with your spinal injury. And this is, intense rehab that you went through. How has this helped you?
Yeah, so when I was going through my whole recovery process, I didn't want to get addicted to opioids. I didn't want to take a lot of opioids. So a friend of mine, he was connected to the person that owned this cannabis brand, and they allowed me to, I started using cannabis and medical marijuana when I was going through my injury. And the thing that was crazy is I was still technically in the NFL. So you're technically not, I wasn't allowed to, but obviously I got exempt because I had a spinal cord injury. So I wasn't really playing at the time. So when I end up start taking it, I noticed my pain. I wasn't dealing with as much pain. I noticed that I was able to recover a lot faster when it came to just me having some intense workouts in the rehab. So I just noticed how much it helped me benefit from it. So once I got done playing, I talked to them about how can I get involved to try to help other individuals who have any injury, any pain, any anxiety, any depression that they're going through, because I know how much this helped me. And they were saying, yeah, we'll love to work with you. We'll love to connect with you. We'll love to do something together. And so we decided to make Steel City Greats. And it's a product that, helps anybody that's going through, anxiety, depression, but also pain. And but also people use it recreational as well. So it's a great product. And I'm really glad to, have my name a part of it.
I think it's amazing. It's a wellness line. It's all about wellness. You stand for that. You are always inspiring so many people, and you've got takes about your life and football and all of that people can check out on your podcast. It's called Don't Call It a Comeback. So take a listen to that and go to steelcitygreats.com to support Ryan and to help yourselves as well. It's always a pleasure. I just love talking to you. So please come back at some point, and hopefully maybe I'll catch you at a Steelers game when they're 12 wins deep.
Hey, if you head out here to come to a game, let me know. I'd love to catch you with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Ryan Shazier, everybody. After this, we'll get to the NFC side of things. We've got to talk a little Cowboys, okay? RJ Ochoa blogging the boys. He's got all the intel. Is this Ryan Ochoa? Is this RJ Ochoa right here? Oh, is this it? No, he will join us. Where's Jonathan Taylor? Let's get to that image. Is he going to be in a Cowboys uniform? Brandon Cooks took Stephon Gilmore and Micah Parsons on a pregame flight to Seattle. This is my nightmare. Literally, if you put a snake in that thing, then that would be my nightmare. That's horrifying. But, Stephon Gilmore, not many people talking about him. Gronkowski, we spent 2 days with Gronk last week, 2 long, fun days. He kept finding reasons to bring up Stephon Gilmore. Mr. Rob Gronkowski picked the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl this year. So now it's time to give them a little love. Let's welcome in editor-in-chief of Blogging the Boys, SB Nation's home for Dallas Cowboys coverage. RJ, how are you?
I'm doing well, Kay. I think that's the Cowboys' greatest nightmare, too, though, seeing 3 of their best players on a tiny little plane like that together.
It's so true, RJ Ochoa. I remember a couple of years ago, people would freak out with Tom Brady jumping off a 2-foot cliff in Costa Rica. We're allowing this?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun when it was all over social media, but the Cowboys kind of quickly shut that down despite Brandon Cooks being a licensed pilot. They were very quick to say there was a veteran pilot on board as well. I don't know how that's possible, although someone is clearly filming that. But it was very cool. Thankfully, everyone is all right. It was a fun little story for about 48 hours.
Wild. Love your takes on this. I got to get this full screen out there to show you. This is a little story I came up with in the last 48 hours that I don't think you're biting on. If I know you, you're not biting on it. But can't we dream? Can't we dream of the Jonathan Taylor lineup alongside CeeDee Lamb, alongside Brandon Cooks? Do we have that? I want to see it. Can we have that? Yeah, there we go. This is just a thing of beauty. This is the opposite of a nightmare scenario for this team. Should they trade as they have the cap space, should they make a move, Jerry and company, for Jonathan Taylor?
You know, he fits in nicely in this graphic, just kind of based on his current uniform. You know, if you kind of, close your eyes a little bit, it looks natural. The Cowboys have sort of been the poster child for how to not handle the running back position from a financial perspective. And they've just kind of gotten out from that. And obviously every Cowboys fan is wishing Zeke Elliott the best of luck in New England outside of week 4 when the Cowboys host the Patriots. But the Cowboys are finally doing the thing. You know what I mean? They finally have, the thing that everybody wanted, the running back by committee. They have Deuce Vaughn, and that's where I think you'd meet the most opposition from Cowboys fans. Everybody is obsessed with Deuce, and Jonathan Taylor would do a lot to squash that. Nobody wants to see that.
I kept thinking about this team because we were having you on the show, and you have the pulse of what's going on in, around, and outside of that building, on and off of the field. What's the feeling and the relationship with pressure? I didn't get to make it to Cowboys camp out in Oxnard, but I went to Buffalo. They've got a window. You go down, the Commanders don't have a window. They're rebuilding, but there's teams that have those. Is there a team that has a smaller window than this Cowboys squad?
I mean, I'd say the Eagles maybe have a smaller window just because they have a few older players at some more notable positions, players like Jason Kelce, obviously. The Cowboys nucleus is really young. I think the biggest worry around them is paying all of their really awesome players, and they obviously took care of Trayvon Diggs. As far as the young nucleus this offseason, Micah Parsons, his deal will eventually come next offseason. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb still needs a new deal. Dak Prescott needs an extension. Tyler Biadasz, Terrence Steele, if you want to go a little bit further down the roster. And I think that's the kind of biggest thing that they're focused on as far as worries. But you're right. They haven't really acted like a team with pressure. I was out in Oxnard for a week, and there have been times in the past where you could kind of feel different elements, different sort of tension. I think that they understand that they're a really good football team, and that they have potential, but that doesn't mean anything. And I think they're finally at a place where they're able to admit that you can't win the Super Bowl in August, you can't win it in July. You have to climb the mountain all over again, and that's been their bugaboo at different times in the past.
Marissa, RJ, big time Eagles fan. Guy just randomly took a shot, just pew pew, right at your Eagles.
Saying we're old. You're calling us old.
I'm saying you're seasoned and you have experience and you're marinated. But that's Jason Kelce's the best player on the Eagles outside of Jalen Hurts, obviously. I mean, maybe even the best, relative to, being the most dominant at their respective positions. And so I think every Cowboys fan will be very pleased when Jason Kelce hangs it up and is like a full-time podcaster. And I think, the Eagles, it's the Cowboys and the Eagles. Everybody understands that, all due respect to the Giants, and the Commanders are kind of cute with what they have going on.
Jeez,
but,
RJ.
This was a good wrap-up. I'm liking this now. Mm-hmm.
There's so much data to suggest the Eagles are going to be right for regression, but there was data last year to suggest that the Cowboys defense would be right for regression. And so these are two teams that have this hostility towards one another, and they keep defying those weird sorts of things. And that's why their matchups are so intense. And even then their matchups aren't that epic. We've only seen Dak Prescott against Jalen Hurts one time. So they keep having these, levels of success that run parallel with one another, but that we don't actually see come to a forefront. And so that's what's really exciting.
Levels of success one team won a Super Bowl in the last 30 years, one didn't. So I don't
That's
know.
fair. Look, I'll be the first to tell you.
I need the 90s called and want their banners back. I don't know what.
I'll be the first to tell you that John Elway didn't have a Super Bowl win of any kind the last time the Cowboys appeared in an NFC title game. He has since won two and literally built his own team that won a Super Bowl with DeMarcus Ware. And so, the past means nothing, but everybody has said this, right? Oh man, this year feels different. They look really good. And that's true. And they have fallen on their face before. They historically at least don't do a great job of living up to expectations until last year. Last year was the first time that they were a playoff team in back-to-back years since 2006 and 2007. It was the first time they won double-digit games in back-to-back years since 1995 and 1996. And those things mean nothing. Nobody wants to hang a banner for that. But I would offer that that's the effect of somebody like Mike McCarthy and the current nucleus of leadership, is that they're able to kind of be a team that's in the playoffs, in the mix year after year. 100%. And, odds are that if you're there, multiple years in a row, eventually the breaks will go your way, the bounces will go your way, and you'll end up stealing one. And I think that that's the hope for everybody.
What was your closing argument there?
I was born in 1995.
Get out of here.
So
God, get out of here.
that's all.
That's
All right.
depressing. for
I just,
me.
you know, he depressed. No, we had to let. Where you literally said the Eagles, and she went, and she had this face. So I was like, get over here. So, but everything you're saying makes a lot of sense. And you bring up Mike McCarthy, and he's the real question, right? The team's loaded for bear. We're ready to go. Like, let's do this thing finally. Everybody wants to see it. We want it for Dak. But last year he had an issue with the interceptions. Kellen, you know, is gone. What's the biggest difference offensively, scheme-wise, play-calling-wise with McCarthy, and why that problem could be eliminated this year?
I think that they're more focused on being on the same page, and that sounds really cliche and like so much football talk, but Cowboys wide receivers, Cowboys pass catchers in general are more focused on understanding the mechanics of what Dak Prescott's doing. There's been all sorts of stories as they've kind of made their rounds throughout camp about how when they learn, you know, install, when they learn what they're doing, they're on the same page as how many, you know, steps Dak Prescott is taking, the timing involved in everything. I think that Dak is such a polarizing person and player because of the team that he plays for that the argument turns into he's either really great or he's terrible, right? When the truth is obviously much closer to the middle there. And while he obviously, I think, bears the responsibility for a lot of the interceptions last year, there are several that were affected by his pass catchers not necessarily being on the same page as him, not necessarily understanding how much time he had to work with, why he had to get balls out quicker. And so they seem to be very, very focused on the why of everything. That has been a really common thread with them for the last month or so, the why of every level of implementation. And so will that be enough? I don't know. But Mike McCarthy, whether you believe he had any involvement in it or not, won a Super Bowl as a play caller. And if the Cowboys went the entire Mike McCarthy era without ever seeing that, that would be a real shame. So at the very least, we are going to get an answer one way or another as to what kind of impact he can make on this team.
Yeah, Dak might be polarizing. One player who's not is Micah Parsons. We know he's one of the greatest defensive pieces that the NFL has. He has odds, as we'll take a look on FanDuel Sportsbook here, for Defensive Player of the Year alongside the Nick Bosa's. We don't know what's going on there, right? He's certainly taking his time setting the market. TJ Watt, we have Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald. Do we have guys? Yeah, let's take a look at some of these. I mean, is this the year he brings home the hardware? Why should we believe that? And why is he fighting everybody at practice?
I mean, Mike is a really passionate person and believes he's the best and obviously has a lot of evidence to support that claim. And so he likes to challenge guys. I mean, that's just kind of his MO. If I'm being honest, though, I don't know that I would take this bet just because the Cowboys, we've seen them be cautious with players who they value greatly. We saw them, you know, towards the end of Zeke's run with them, have him on a bit of a pitch count, and Micah is the best player on the team. And so he hasn't finished a season shy of 13 sacks. And so I don't know that he'll have the opportunities. I think, you know, a lot of people think the Cowboys are going to win a significant number of games. I think they'll be in the mix. And so they'll probably put Micah on ice, maybe in some fourth quarters, you know, maybe in week 18 if it comes to that. And I think you need that, obviously, to win an award like Defensive Player of the Year. And so I certainly wouldn't take the odds as they stand now. Maybe if you wait till, I don't know, maybe November, they lean a little bit more in a better person's favor. But yeah, I just don't know that the opportunity is there because they know how essential he is to what they want to do in January, and they can't win that in November and December, and they're going to preserve him for when it really matters.
It's a great case. I can't believe Chase Young isn't on that list that I don't see. Or was he on that? I think Chase, I mean, I do. I know that all those other guys will maybe eat into his sack numbers, but Chase Young is primed, man. He's healthy. He's in a contract year. He wants to eat. I think Sweat, all of them are going to try to let him get his sack numbers up. Now, you know that I love Deuce Vaughn. Love him. My favorite kind of player. Like he hits all the boxes for me. But is there another stud, a young player, having a great camp that you think might make a big contribution this season?
You know, the name that's really kind of grown in popularity, and it's difficult to be under the radar as a member of the Cowboys, but second-year wide receiver Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama, he had a horrible rookie year, and a lot of that was how the Cowboys kind of set him up. They obviously traded away Amari Cooper and were really dependent on Tolbert, you know, being this impact player as a rookie, which was really unfair to expect of anyone, let alone a third-round pick. And he had a horrible moment in the overtime loss in Green Bay, but really kind of worked on himself, got a lot better over the course of the offseason, and it all felt like talk. I mean, you know, Cowboys veterans, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks were all kind of hyping him up, and it did kind of feel like fluff at the beginning, but he has really really kind of backed it up with what he's done in camp, what he's done in the preseason. The Cowboys 2 years ago had a great fourth wide receiver in Cedric Wilson, and it feels like Tolbert is ripe to, at the very least, be able to do that, and potentially even, nobody really knows what Michael Gallup's going to look like a year removed from recovering from the torn ACL. Does Tolbert have the potential to be the third wide receiver on this team? I think Gallup, is a great kind of flyer in fantasy leagues for that reason, because you never know what you're going to get there. But Jalen Tolbert, I think, could be this sneaky sort of 8 touchdown sort of season. Dak Prescott really, really loves him. The opportunities are going to be there for, I would say all of the regular season.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about it. Listen, you do such an incredible job. You really do. I could just go to Blogging the Boys or follow you on Twitter, RJ Ochoa. I always feel like I know exactly what's going on with that team. And I honestly, I think you do such a great job. You're the editor-in-chief of everything that goes on. Incredible Cowboys coverage. We appreciate you. And we're all really juiced to have you on the show, except for Marissa.
Well, I appreciate you and Marissa, and I appreciate Gronk offering his prediction
Did you like that?
for the Cowboys.
Did you like that?
It was incredible. Those things are obviously that's, I know this sounds cliche, but that's where things are a little bit different. At least they seem different at this point. People like Gronk are picking the Cowboys, and he didn't just pick the Cowboys; he supported it with a lot of evidence.
100%.
And it's not like Gronk doesn't know Brandon Cooks or Stephon Gilmore, and those are things that I think Cowboys fans are really excited about. Is those kind of veteran leadership. Even that plane video, that it speaks very loudly that those are the people Micah Parsons is hanging out with. That's the kind of player Micah Parsons is and will become over the course of his NFL career. And so the hype is real, but it's sound and legitimate, which is not a place that Cowboys fans are used to being in terms of hype. But that's why they play the games. And so it's look, one way or another, it will be memorable. I know that they always have a way to do that.
I hope you're still thanking Gronk when he's suiting up against you twice a year with Brian Dable, and him and Darren Waller are lighting up your secondary. That's just, no, I'm kidding. I mean, because he gave you guys such a compliment, and then he came back and was like, actually, I'm going to dunk on you and say Dable's the best coach in the league, and I'm going to come out of retirement and take on the Cowboys twice a year. I was like, wait, what? Huh?
Maybe that's why he gassed up Stephon Gilmore. He's calming him down before he goes and runs over him.
Or maybe he should go to the Eagles with all the other aging geezers. Maybe that's where he should go. Clearly, according to you, RJ.
Those are yours and Marissa's words. I was very complimentary of the Eagles, just to be very clear.
Thanks for being so playful. And honestly, everybody go check out Blogging the Boys. It is, I'm going to go ahead and say, one of my favorite places to go for NFL information. Cowboys run the show. I mean, our ratings spike when we talk about them, and RJ is the master of things over there for Dallas. We'll be back after this right here on Up and Adam. All right, time for some fantasy bits. Here's the deal. I fall in love with the unheralded guys, the underdogs, the quarterbacks that aren't getting enough love. And these are the 3 that I'm in love with the most, okay? These are the top 3 quarterback sleepers according to moi. I never draft a quarterback early. I've never done it. I don't care how the fantasy game or how the NFL evolves and how running backs aren't valued and wide receivers and tight ends are valued. I don't care. One thing about me is I'm taking like a Derek Carr in the 15th round. Like, that is my QB1. That's how I roll. I'm not going to talk about Derek Carr right now. I am going to talk about Geno Smith. And I know Jackson Smith and Jigba is slated to have wrist surgery, and there's all of that going on. But Geno Smith is 14th at quarterback right now. This is par for the course of NFL people not being on board with narratives changing. Okay? You can snag him in the 10th round, and that's insane to me. The Seahawks have upgraded talent around him. You've got DK, you've got Lockett there, and that's after he finished last year. How's he going to be going 14th when he's a top 5 quarterback last year? Do y'all even understand it was Mahomes, Josh Allen, Hurts, Burrow, and then Geno Smith? This was not a fluke. This was not a weird year. In fact, he's got more consistency and stability at the position with Pete Carroll, who looks to all of 25 all over again. Okay, I'm not saying he's going to be top 5 again. There might be some regression, but not the kind that should take him in the 10th round. He might be among the biggest values at the quarterback spot or any position in the fantasy game. Okay, next up, quarterback sleepers. Who do I like? Who do I like? Who do I like? Anthony Richardson. That's right. Give me the shoot for the sky. Why not? Like the highest ceiling of maybe any player. He's going 16th, guys. 12th round overall. You can get the upside special. That's it. You get to the Denny's, you get in the booth, sunny side up, upside special, through the roof, okay? We've seen the talent on display this preseason. You're seeing the athleticism. You saw it all through college, the running ability. Chris Collinsworth was like, yeah, he's got the most upside of anyone in this game, okay? Zone read plays, arm talent, and that's without even playing a snap this past weekend. He's clearly going to get the unchallenged opportunity to start this entire year as well. Dwight Freeney was like, get him out there. Don't baby him. Don't put bubble tape, rubble wrap on him. Like, get him out there to play. I know the Jonathan Taylor stuff is itchy. It makes it a little nervous. That's what else going to increase his value, okay? If you look at the guys who have had top 10 fantasy finishes in recent years as rookies, as first-time starters, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Justin Fields, they all got one thing in common: elite running ability, arm talent, and voila, the opportunity. That's the trifecta. So yeah, there might be bumps in the road as a rookie, but especially like in daily fantasy even, oh my gosh, he's my top flyer. You are grabbing him and sticking him in your lineup for values on FanDuel Sportsbook all day long. And I think he's got a good chance to finish high. Okay, who do we have as my number 3 guy? Okay, this is hard for me. Oh my gosh. Oh, Sam Howell, we're doing it. Washington quarterback. Because I can't believe they listened to me and let me pick Sam Howell here. Listen, he's 27th. Let me make the case. He's 27th at the quarterback spot right now. He said you could take him in the 20th round. Do you think you're taking a backup kicker or Sam Howell? What are we doing here? But let me put that into perspective. He's going in between the Chiefs and the Saints defenses. Okay, extreme defenses, by the way. And while there are a lot of unknowns, fine. I love the upside. Total late round flyer. He's going to be throwing to one of the best receiver trios in the league. I've said it a lot. John Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel with the speed there to round it out. He's looked great this preseason. And his Carolina buddy, that's going to be a thing. I'm taking a late round flyer on him too. And he's got wheels, by the way. Do we pretend Sam Howell just doesn't have icing on the cake for fantasy points? He's not going to run? He showed it. There was a touchdown run in the win against the Cowboys Week 18 in the small sample size of NFL action that we saw. So this year, at the end of your draft, do not grab that second defense. I will hunt you down if I see you grabbing a third tight end, okay? Snap Howell, and if it works out, it's genius, and if it doesn't, who cares? You're probably going to get some great trade action for him. One of these top quarterbacks that idiots take in the first couple of rounds go down anyway. There you have it. Those are my top 3 fantasy sleepers. I think we got Hamilton here. Hammy, how you doing? You let me go with Sam Howell.
We had to do it. You made a great case. I mean, it's hard to argue against that. I don't even need to draft a kicker. I'd rather take Sam Howell and figure out the kicker situation later.
My feelings for Sam Howell are growing quite exponentially. But I don't want anybody else to love him. I saw somebody, like, people are like, oh, I love Howell, I love the Commanders. I go, no. That's my team. My quarterback.
You were there first.
I was there first. I brought him a bucket hat. I said I liked his panda dunks. Like, I'm his best friend. We got a couple minutes left in the show. Shazier was amazing. I would have Shazier on all the time. RJ Ochoa is like the best thing in the world. We do want to get to something because we had Asia Wilson tying a league record. Shout out, 53 points for the Aces. Huge night for the WNBA. We, love to talk records here on the show. So I wanted you to look at FanDuel Sportsbook and give me some odds for a record you think in 10 seconds or less might be broken. Go. 10 seconds. Go.
I want to take a look at the sack record. We saw TJ Watt tie it a couple years ago with that extra 17th game. Chase Young, I think, is going to be a factor. Micah Parsons, like you guys just talked about. TJ Watt probably again. I think we see this one fall this year, plus 500.
Deuce Vaughn. Hey, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest Up and Adams content right on YouTube.